Hello everyone and welcome, it's Lenny. I have wanted to do a video about lipedema and lymphedema for a while, but it means sort of show my legs. I suppose I don't have to, I could have just talked about it, but I wanted to include it in there because I think it's important to get the message out about it because it's not very well known, and especially lipedema. And it's also Lipedema Awareness Month. June is Lipedema Awareness Month and it's practically the end of June, but I have tried to do this a couple of times and I've got a bit, I don't know, I was maybe a bit picky with it because I was wanting it to go really well and you know that kind of thing, and I wanted to put it across well. So I've given myself some, rather than give you a full medical description and everything like that, I've given myself some notes. I'm going to talk about it in my words in a way, and then I'm going to put links in the bottom that'll give you more information if you need it. So yeah, I'm going to start with lymphedema. Lymphedema was the first thing I was diagnosed with, so I'm going to start with that. So lymphedema is a long-term chronic condition. It basically is a build-up of fluid under the in the body. Usually and mostly it affects the limbs, but it can affect everywhere, and it's usually the legs that are affected first, I think, just unless you've had injury or damage to somewhere specific, and then it could be in that area. So lymphedema is caused by, well, there's two types of lymphedema. There's primary lymphedema, which is a default in the lymphatic system, and something happens to you when you're born, it doesn't develop properly, etc. Whereas primary lymphedema is caused by it can be caused by infection, an injury, cancer treatment, and extreme obesity. And I think that's all the possible causes. I'm not 100% sure. So basically, as I said, it's a build-up of fluid because your lymphatic system is damaged. I'm going to put pictures here that will show lymphedema, and then, well, you've probably already seen that one, and I'm going to put a picture up here now to show you lymphatic system, which is basically vessels and vessels and glands that are all through your body, your lymph glands, that they're there basically to push fluid throughout your body, and they help fight infection, and also to get rid of excess waste fluid as well. Obviously that's why when they're not working properly, you have that build up instead. So symptoms include obviously like the swelling, heavy and aching feeling, hard and tight skin. You can then develop folds of skin, you can get like warts on them, and you can also have fluid leaking through your skin. And then into the sort of into the other issues obviously would be like the psychological issues that it would cause, you know, obviously the distortion in your body, you know, that kind of thing. It would obviously, it can have an effect on how you feel about yourself, and also depression and things like that. You're also more susceptible to cellulitis. Cellulitis is I will put a picture. It basically it's an infection of the dermis layers of the skin, and if it isn't treated, it becomes very serious because it can spread to the muscles, the blood, and even your bones, and obviously that will be extremely serious. It needs antibiotic treatment, and sometimes hospitalization for that antibiotic treatment, because you would need it directly in to your vein. I've had it 4 times, haven't had it for 3 years, touch wood, and I was hospitalized twice with it, so it is very serious. Yeah, so that is basically my overview of lymphedema. I'm now going to give you the same for lipedema, and I'm doing it this way because I have, as I said, I have both. Moving on to lipedema. Lipedema is also a long-term chronic condition. It's an abnormal build-up of fat cells in that they don't act as they should, and they don't deposit in the body in the same way as they should. It mostly affects women, but can also affect men. They do not know the cause exactly as yet, but they believe that it has links to hormonal changes. So for instance, puberty, childbirth, menopause, etc. The thing with lipedema is it is symmetrical, so it affects both limbs in the same way, or all 4 limbs in the same way, and unlike lymphedema, it doesn't affect your hands and feet. So you get like what's called cankles, in that you get that sort of banding effect around your feet or around your arms, depending on where you actually have it. Or well, around your wrists wouldn't be cankles, would it? Rankles? No, that doesn't work. Anyway, moving on. This is meant to be serious. So just like a banding effect, as if like you'd put a belt around it and tied it really tight, and then, you know, you would have that sort of overhang effect. That's what I'm trying to say. Weight loss does not affect these abnormal fat cells. They do not. You don't lose them, no matter how much weight you lost. You cannot lose them. Nobody knows again why that is, why they don't perform in the same way as normal fat cells do. And again, with like lymphedema, you have sort of aching, swelling, heavy feeling, cold limbs, but you also get or stinging as well, and then you also get like bruising. That happens a lot because the abnormal fat cells don't behave in the same way, so that you bruise easier. So treatments for both include compression garments, which again I'll put pictures over here. So compression garments, which obviously compress the skin to move the fluid, essentially, in the likes of lymphedema. And because with lipedema, because the area around the abnormal fat cells becomes inflamed, inflammation attracts fluid, and fluid goes there, so again that causes more issues. So again, that's why the compression helps with that. Massages, so there's like specialist massages that you can have done. I have, for lymphatic drainage, I have a self massage, which actually has nothing to do with my legs. It's about using the main part of your lymphatic system. So you've got so it starts up here on your chest, going towards your armpits, and from your belly, or you know, going up towards your armpits. And then you've got like a pneumatic compression, which is like, I think it fills with air. I've never ever used this. I think what it does is it fills with air, and it does the same as like the compression garments, but probably in a shorter space of time. So I would assume you wouldn't need it on for as long, but someone might be able to tell us that if they know any more. Then you've got dry brushing. Dry brushing again is to move the fluid and the lymphatic, help your lymphatic system, and so it's about brushing from the ankles up really, because you've got lymph glands at the back of your knees, in your groin, in your armpit, at the back of your neck, and on, is it here? I've put the picture in anyway, which shows all of where they are. Also, like a light exercise, swimming's really good, and a non-impact exercise, because obviously if in both cases, as the day goes on, you would end up with more fluid over the day, and anything, especially because you've got inflammation, you would affect that, so your legs will become even more painful, even more tight, because if you overdo them, that obviously that reacts to the inflammation, and then that builds up more fluid and so on. So swimming apparently is really good for it because it's non-impactful on your legs or arms or wherever you have it. Looking after your skin is another one. I have creams that I use every day. I've got dry skin creams and like a zero based cream that goes on every day, twice a day, to like help. I think also the movement of putting it onto your skin helps a lot too. And apart from that, eating right as well, obviously that just goes without saying. I think for most things, the right nutrition helps, especially with inflammation. You can get certain, you know, foods that help with inflammation, so obviously they would be better to eat for sure. And other than that, the only other thing which is for lipedema is liposuction. It isn't widely done on the NHS or anything that I know of, and it's not something I've ever looked into either. However, it's the only way of getting rid of that fat, that you're never going to get rid of it dieting. It doesn't go. It doesn't matter how slim you got, because this isn't a condition that is linked to obesity. This lipedema is a condition that affects anyone. It doesn't matter if you're 7 stone or 20 stone. If you've got it, you've got it. It's that kind of thing. So no amount of weight loss would change the lipedema. The only way to get that fat out would be by liposuction, and you would need so many different, depending where you have it. So if you had it in your bum, hips and thighs, then obviously you would need liposuction for each area, and that doesn't mean that it's not going to come back either. So yeah, that's the only other thing. Sorry about that. The laptop cut off because I forgot to put the charger in. I was too busy trying to get out what I wanted to say. But only me. I'm going to leave it this time though. This is me. This is how I work. It's not going to be perfect, and yeah. So what I'm going to move on to is my own legs. I'm going to voice over it because I've already recorded that part separate. So yeah, I'm going to voice over that bit and I'll insert that next. Hello and welcome to my legs. I know, it's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Yeah, and I've thought I'd never do this, but yay, why not? I'm not, what's the word? I'm not ashamed anymore, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, cover your modesty, Leonie. Anyway, I just wanted to give you sort of a view of how it affects me. So I have lipedema and lymphedema, as I've said, and the lipedema, I will, there, so there you can see the lipedema there. So they're the little bits of fat that's under the skin, the little balls of white, kind of look whitish, but you can hopefully see them. I'm trying to squeeze them so you can see it properly. Yeah, they become inflamed, and then the water between each and then when they become inflamed, obviously that swells, and also because of it fills with fluid, which is what normally happens when you get inflammation. Yeah, you've squeezed that bit enough. God, you know, and you realise that you just didn't do something for too long. So this is kind of just a overview of my legs, really, and then we're going to go right down to my foot. As you can see, I've caught the sun a little bit. I've got a little bit of a suntan where my slip-on shoe thing was. So going down my leg, I'm not 100% convinced that I have lipedema in the bottom, because I can feel my shin, which is there. I haven't felt my shin for a long time, mind. So whether that is the case or not, I don't know. However, as you'll see a bit further on the other side, I have got a lump under the skin. Well, the doctor came and checked and decided that it was part of the lipedema. Again, it's not so easy to see on here because obviously I have got a lot of fat there as well. It's not just lipedema or lymphedema. I am not totally swollen, but I've also got a lot of loose skin, so I'm not really sure if that is because of that as well. This bit where I am now, the whole of where that was absolutely solid, the whole part. Oh, no, I'm at a different part. So yeah, that's my knee, kind of. Oh, and we're gone onto the other side. So as I was saying before about cankles, this is my cankle there. You can see the difference in the colour in my skin. It's just that the skin has become so damaged due to the size that my legs got, and also that crease mark there was like a fold in the skin due to the fluid in there and the lipedema and the lymphedema. So where I am now is where I think there's a little, don't know if you can see it properly, it's hard to see, but there's a lump in that part of my leg that the doctors have put down to lipedema, so I'm not really sure. So this is my right side. I'm going to turn my leg over slightly if I can, yeah, so you can see underneath the discoloration, because obviously I lie on this part of my leg, so all the backs of my legs are like this. All the backs of my legs are that colour. And again, you can see the wrinkled skin, because obviously I've lost a lot of weight. This part where I am, I had a really bad ulcerated like lymphedema lump, and it used to weep so bad. I mean, it's massively different compared to what it was. Again, that's just rock solid there. And it gets really uncomfortable. It's like a deep ache, like someone's digging their knuckles in you. That's how I describe it. I have that pain, and I have like a stinging burning pain, which usually happens a few times and then it stops, but I've had it where it's been constant over a certain length of time, and it's really uncomfortable. Obviously this is where I was talking about before, all of along here was just one complete solid elephant ball, is what I used to call them, me elephant balls. This is the damaged side. This is the side obviously that I rammed into the lamppost, unfortunately, so the whole of this is, as you can see, discoloured. It's gone a little black underneath. I am in the middle of speaking with GPs and things. I did talk about in my vlog before, but all of that bit there is just one massive lump. It's not really uncomfortable anymore, luckily, thankfully, but you can see the skin's so shiny there because it's so pulled. But yeah, oh, back to me holding both my knees up in the air there, briefly. I think it's really jittery, but unfortunately, sorry. As you can see, my feet do not, they don't stay in place, they don't stay up, and I am bow-legged because of the distortion in my legs. and now I'm showing you my arm. So that's my left arm. That arm has lymphedema. I don't think I have lipedema in my arms, but I'm not totally sure. So that has lymphedema, and it gets a lot bigger than the other one. I'm not sure you're going to see that properly, so I will add a photograph at the end here. You can see the difference, but hopefully you can see there. And I'll be back in a bit. That was weird, editing your own legs. Anyway, I wanted to come back to say, well, to show more pictures actually. What I'm going to, the first one will be a picture of me in the wheelchair. I don't think I've ever shown a full picture of me in the wheelchair. No, I don't think I have ever, that I can remember. So obviously this is me in the wheelchair, in Robo Bitch, as it were. And yeah, it's fine. That's basically all there is to say about that. The next photo is of me again, obviously, but this time I'm sitting around, my legs are down, and well, I assume you can notice that where the lymphatic system bothers me, so where my damage is in my lymphatic system, is on the right side. So if I didn't have that damage, and so therefore there wasn't more fluid on that side, then my legs would look more symmetrical, and it goes right up to my waist, so much so that I kind of have to sit angled a little bit. But it's weird because the damage on this side doesn't affect my arm on this side, but it does on the other, and I'm not sure if it's like some sort of opposite thing, because my leg isn't affected so much by the lymphedema. It was like at my biggest, but I was probably, because I was on my feet, and also the lipedema would have affected the inflammation, and I think because I'm not walking, in a sense, is possibly why they're not as aggravated as other people. But then maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's just because I have got a lot of excess skin. Obviously I've lost a lot of weight. My legs were solid at one point. I was literally solid from the waist down to it was horrible. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Like, there was not an ounce of skin to move. It was awful. Yeah, but I mean, that was when I was back in hospital and everything. So in comparison to my hips and legs sort of thing, my waist goes right in. Like, I don't know if you can see so much in this. Maybe if I show it zoomed in a bit, that might help. But my waist goes in right under my bust, and that I don't really have very much fat under my boobs and stuff in comparison. Yeah, my stomach does, but it's kind of fell down, like with the weight loss in a sense. So the sort of, all of that excess skin's kind of fell down a bit. Sounds really nice, doesn't it? The other thing is, I wanted to say, this is obviously, I'm talking about this, but lymphedema and lipedema don't excuse the fact that I am still fat, essentially. I know some people don't like to say the word fat, they're offended by it, or obese, or whatever it is. None of them words bother me anymore. You know what I mean? The words, at the end of the day, this is it. I am a bigger girl, and even if you took away the lymphedema and the lipedema, I'd still be a bigger girl. However, you know, my aim is to lose more weight so that improves, obviously. Obviously the lipedema won't improve I have seen improvements in the lymphedema since losing some weight. I mean, maybe the lipedema would improve in terms of pressure and stuff, because it's not as much pressure, and obviously you wouldn't, I mean, it's too late for me because I've already got lymphedema, but you wouldn't develop lymphedema later in life, later along the road. Like, I was only diagnosed with lipedema last year, so I'm still really like the back end of last year. And when I think about it, from being, once I hit my puberty, I've always had a bigger bum, bigger thighs, bigger sort of from the waist down, probably to the knees. I don't think maybe my calves were a little bit, thinking about it. Not as bad as the upper part, and when I think about it, my mum's the same. Like, but then obviously it wasn't a thing back then. It was, you know, my mum has that same thing, so maybe, you know, she has it too, but was never diagnosed because it wasn't a thing. It wasn't diagnosed back then. I mean, it's still very hard to get a diagnosis now. So yeah, so that's that photo, and the last one that I'm going to show is the best my legs have looked. So because my lymphedema and the lipedema can go up and down, you know, I can have days where my legs are so tight, especially the back, like the back and the sides of my legs really much more, and the tops of my thighs, more so than the lower parts, but or my arm, which has lymphedema in it and not lipedema. It's confusing. So they can get really tight, very uncomfortable, and it's not nice at all. I've lost track of what I was originally saying. So, oh yes, so this is the best it's looked in a long time, and that photo was probably 18 months, 2 years ago maybe. I was doing a lot more leg exercises. I really need to do them again. That obviously help. So yeah, I'm gonna get back to doing that. I think that's everything. I think I've covered everything. I hope that it makes sense to people, and if anyone has got it as well, I hope that I've come across correct in your view as well, if that makes sense. Although I know saying that it's very different for different people. Having said that, like, you know, obviously it can affect different parts of the body, and it has a different effect on different people. Some people never go past the first stage. Some people, you know, go right at the end, and even, you know, they get deformed and things like that. It can vary so much, but hopefully I've explained it somewhat, that people now have a better understanding, which is what I wanted to do. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So thank you very much for watching. Please like and comment below, and subscribe if you want to see more videos. That would be cool. Thank you very much. Bye bye.